Obama refused to endorse her candidacy as the nominee. That must have been a pretty awkward phone call to realize the kingmaker of the Democratic Party doesn't want you as the nominee.
I knew about Kamala Harris. It just shows me that the reason you have the Jasmine Crockett's of the world flexing and saying just bananas things that she is right now is because they don't have a leader in the Democrat Party.
Bingo.
If Barack Obama...
The non-endorsement. Well, the non-endorsement, as it turns out, per Jonathan Allen, was because he didn't believe in her.
A shocking new book has just revealed what many already suspected. Barack Obama never supported Joe Biden as a candidate in 2024 and saw Kamala Harris as an electoral risk. While the Democrats were selling a facade of unity to the public, the progressive icon himself acknowledged Biden's cognitive decline and the vice president's lack of competence. Get ready to see Fox News comments on the matter. Democratic leaders betraying each other behind the scenes.
Well, Democrats are spilling all of Biden's secrets to reporters. It's a lot of fun to read. They're giving us an inside look into Biden's team, what they were doing to cover his decline, and how he made Kamala Harris beg for his endorsement. Now, this new book also claims former President Obama secretly didn't want Kamala Harris to get that job. In fact, he waited 5 days to endorse her. And here's the book's author, Jonathan Allen, breaking it all down.
President Obama absolutely did not think that Joe Biden should continue, according to our sources close to President Obama. And he also didn't want Kamala Harris to be the replacement for Biden. He didn't think that she was the best choice for Democrats. And he worked really behind the scenes for a long time to try to have a mini primary or an open convention or mini primary leading to an open convention. Did not have faith in her ability to win the election. He was really working against her.
So, Ben, I was reading some of these details from a New York Post article, and here's one of the things they say that Allen further revealed on a phone call with the vice president on the day Biden passed the baton to Harris. Obama refused to endorse her candidacy as the nominee. That must have been a pretty awkward phone call to realize the kingmaker of the Democratic Party doesn't want you as the nominee.
Look, it's so funny when you see this now come out. Obama knew that she was a terrible vice president and was going to be a terrible candidate. And by the way, he also knew that Joe Biden was incapacitated, and this was their only option at that moment. Barack Obama might be one of the most brilliant political minds I've ever seen in the Democratic Party. He's very astute to what's going on. He understands talent. He understands electability. He's the best since Bill Clinton. And I'm sure he saw what we saw. We were all rooting for it to be Kamala Harris because we thought she was the easiest person to beat. He understood that she was vulnerable. He understood she was not going to be a great candidate. He understood the word salads were a disaster for her. He understood she didn't have an in-depth knowledge of a lot of foreign affairs, and she wasn't going to be good at defending herself. So you combined all that, it's not a good candidate. And I'm sure he's like, guys, we're going to give the White House back to Donald Trump if you guys don't understand how bad she is. So let's have an open convention. And by the way, an open convention is total chaos and anarchy. Yeah. He was so sure that Harris was going to lose that he was willing to say, let's go and just roll the dice at a convention, look out of control and insane, and we might get a better candidate than her. I think he was smart to say it. This book, by the way, is not shocking, because everyone else knew it was going to happen, too.
I couldn't agree with you more that President Obama is politically astute. Kennedy.
We have just witnessed a rare internal conflict being exposed. Obama avoided supporting Harris, not due to personal issues, but because of a personal assessment that she and Biden represented electoral risks. This demonstrates that even while publicly selling an image of unity, Democratic leaders know that prioritizing identity symbols over concrete competence creates instability, something that only benefits Republicans who focus on merit and clear strategies. The contradiction between discourse and action remains the Achilles heel of the left. But the secrets don't stop there. What do the real data reveal about the Biden-Harris failure? The truth is worse than we imagined.
When you look at what happened in the aftermath of the election, President Obama was proven exactly right. Take a look at this. New York Times, more than 89% of counties in the United States shifted in the favor of former, now current President Donald J. Trump. And then if you look at Michigan specifically, Politico, Alyssa Slotkin, who ran for Senate there and prevailed, outperformed Harris by more than a full percentage point in all but 28 of the state's 83 counties. Obama knew this would happen and tried to avert a crisis.
Yeah, a couple things. One, he and Donald Trump, both transformational candidates. Joe Biden was not. He never was. That's why, 2020 just must have been an off year because of the pandemic, because in any other time, he never would have been elected. Obama knew that Biden was compromised for a long time. Shame on him for not asserting his power when they could have had a proper primary, because he knew of the decline before that. And he also knew about Kamala Harris. It just shows me that the reason you have the Jasmine Crockett's of the world flexing and saying just bananas things that she is right now is because they don't have a leader in the Democrat Party.
Bingo.
If Barack Obama were that leader, then they would have had an open primary, which would have been better because it would have been survival of the fittest, and the strongest, most articulate person who could make the case for the party and for voters would have emerged from that convention and would have gotten a much harder look from voters than Kamala Harris did.
What's interesting, Harris,
Post-election data proves that 89% in the United States favor Trump. Obama's omission in promoting an open primary, even knowing Biden's decline and Harris's lack of preparation, reveals a strategic failure. He avoided internal conflicts instead of seeking qualified leaders. And this explains the current total lack of leadership among Democrats, while conservatives bet on merit and objective data. The left is reaping the fruits of decisions based on immediate convenience. Pay attention. The left made a fatal mistake by underestimating its electorate, and you will understand why this destroyed its credibility.
we go back to July when we were at the RNC. I remember vividly we were in the show on this hour, and then this article popped in the Washington Post. We were all waiting to hear Obama's thoughts about Biden because he didn't come out and publicly defend him. And then we get this Washington Post headline: Obama tells allies Biden's path to winning re-election has greatly diminished. This man knows how to work the press. He didn't come out and say it. He worked it through the press.
Well, and he waited until all those people had gathered. Like he waited until it's the middle of summer. So, I mean, I thought that was fascinating. They know they've got a convention coming up, and it's only weeks away. And look what he does, because he thinks, okay, well, maybe we can force an early primary. Remember, there was talk about, well, if she does get in, is there still room to force one, even though because nobody voted on that.
Yeah.
Right? Voters didn't have a say. It was such an odd few weekends, latter part of July, not to mention what happened with the current president. But I will say this. I honestly thought at the time with Kamala Harris and Barack Obama picked a lane to go after black men and the black vote was one of the most bizarre things I've ever heard. So not only did he, and I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional, maybe it was just, one of those things, practically arms akimbo, lecturing black voters. I'll never forget that video. He went to stump for her at one point, telling them that the reason that they weren't voting for her is because they didn't love black women enough. Like, I'm paraphrasing him, but that was the lecture that black men got. And I just thought that that was so strange. And what it did was it exploited the weakness that she already had in that lane. It's almost like he helped her lose, at least with that group.
And Emily, if you...
Instead of correcting real flaws in the ticket, such as Kamala's lack of technical preparation, Obama chose to rely on the race and color movement. This further alienated the critical electorate, which seeks concrete proposals, and reinforced the perception of a disconnect between Democratic leaders and their historical base. And while conservatives bet on objective dialogue with all communities, the left insists on tactics with minorities that end up undermining its credibility. Final revelation, the question that will echo in 2028. Who paid the price for Obama's calculated silence? The answer is an ideological own goal.
You think about the 5 days it took him to endorse Kamala. It was reported in the New York Times. And again, this is the savviness of Obama with the press. People close to Obama who have positioned himself as an impartial elder statesman about intra-party machinations said not to read much into the non-endorsement. Well, the non-endorsement, as it turns out, per Jonathan Allen, was because he didn't believe in her. We should have read into it.
Of course, because what you don't say is just as important as what you do say, which is why, to your point, none of this is surprising in a way. It just sort of reveals the aha, like I knew it, right? And it's interesting because I thought the same thing. I wonder if there's some amusement at essentially for the sacrifice of the Democrat Party if Obama's like, yeah, I told you. I told you that Kamala Harris wasn't a good candidate. I told you that Joe Biden was always a facsimile of my policies without the charisma and the true origin, transformative power and nature and inherent character. And I told you all. But the question is, what does he do from here?
Exactly.
Is he going to remain in the backdrop, or will he, either behind the scenes or in front of it, be very firm, very direct, and help lead this party back to at least some semblance of a cohesive unit? Yeah. He might just prefer to stay golfing.
Maybe not a podcast like his wife.
Yeah. And I would love to know, in Obama's mind, if it wasn't Biden, if it wasn't Kamala, who was the right candidate? Who would have gotten
Anyone
the job
but.
done? Anyone but.
Anyone but.
All right.
And the conclusion of all this, Democratic leaders like Obama recognized the fragility of the 2024 ticket, but chose to preserve their public image instead of confronting the problem. Obama's lack of action reflects a party divided between disconnected elites and bases demanding real answers. While conservatives bet on transparency in leadership, Democrats accumulate mistakes and choose candidates based on identity symbols. And when they fail, they use media leaks to avoid direct responsibility. The final question that remains is, who would be the ideal candidate for Obama? It reveals the biggest problem. There are no names currently up to the standard of the progressive field. The result? A party without direction, dependent on figures from the past to avoid a total collapse. Well, this was the video for now. Thank you very much for staying until the end. I ask you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video because every day I bring hot news about the current American political scene. Thank you very much to everyone. See you in the next video.